All right, we have an interesting one for you guys today. So before, I made a video about one of my clients talking about how I was going to be taking him to show. I'll actually be doing an update of that for my next video, but you guys really seem to like it. You guys want to hear more about clients, bodybuilding, showing the journeys, success, failures, whatever else. Fantastic. I love talking about this stuff. So today we are going to go over two of my natural competitors who competed within the last couple of weeks. We're going to go over Nate Bennett, also known as Arza. He put his name in as Arza for the competition. I don't know why. And then we are going to go to Fonzo, Anabolic Fonz. Both of them are obviously present on social media, so you can go follow them, see what they look like, follow their journeys. But they just competed. Alphonso does have another show coming up, but Nate's done for the season. He just wanted to be one and done, do his pro debut and move on. Because he competed in the OCB at a pro debut, where Fonz is not a professional yet. So Fonz was competing in an amateur comp. So let us first take a look at Nate Bennett. And I'm also going to be very honest with you guys. Like, I don't sugarcoat anything, so
that was really bad.
all right, let's do it. Nice. Turn that quad on. That was one thing we worked on a lot. Yeah, see him tightening up his quads as he goes into position. Looks solid. All right, so what we can take a look at here, overall, he showed up well. Like, he looks good. If you take a look at his serratus, his obliques, obviously he's not fully tensed the abs here, but they did come in very well. You can see sartorius separation, rec fem, vastus muscles, all of it, and you can see that even like a little bit of the hamstring definition from here. Like, he did a very, very good job. This is definitely his best overall look, in my opinion. He brought the most size relative to conditioning that he's ever brought to a stage before. So he did fantastic. But the only thing, I shouldn't say the only thing, because obviously as a bodybuilding coach and like when it comes to bodybuilding, you want to be as much of a perfectionist as possible. You never want to let any little details go. His back was a little softer than I would have liked. The glutes actually came in pretty decently, but he holds a little bit more in the back. And so the definition wasn't quite as good as it could have been. But honestly, I don't know if that would have even changed anything for him at this comp, because OCB can be a little weird at times. In classic physique, sometimes they don't want them to be quite as conditioned, which I've not seen it be consistent yet, right? So sometimes somebody will go in there mind-blowingly peeled, and then they'll be like, yep, easy winner. And then other times they'll go in mind-blowingly peeled and they'll say, oh, well, you were too grainy.
Is this serious?
I've heard them say that before, too grainy, too hard. I'm like, come on, it's bodybuilding. They should be trying to get conditioned. Obviously, Nate brought good enough conditioning for this show regardless, because if you take a look at him next to the top, because he came third. He was third. He did not take first or second, unfortunately. We'll talk about the reasons for that. But if you take a look at his conditioning relative to the guys next to him, he was actually arguably this guy brought pretty good conditioning. He looked pretty good, especially when he turned around to the back. But he was more conditioned than first place. But first place was slightly bigger, right? Had a little bit bigger, had a little bit rounder muscle bellies. So he had a little bit fuller chest. Shoulders, Nate's are actually pretty good. But I would say the leg development too, the guy who won, you can't see it super well from this angle, but even a little bit here, he just had rounder quads. A little bit more size to him. And that's just time, right? Like, Nate will become a bigger athlete as he continues to lift over time. He's still very young. But yeah, that's just time filling out more. But his overall frame, everything else was very, very solid. And yeah, he ended up taking third. If you had watched the footage, you could have made an argument for him coming first based on the fact that his conditioning and posing was slightly better than some of the other competitors. Regardless, I was not upset. Right. I think sometimes people get very, they look at their athletes so closely that they don't pay attention to what the other people have to bring. And then they say,
oh yeah, well, they got robbed.
they got robbed. I would have put.
It's like, I can't say that, right? I would say that overall, the other guys brought enough size to offset the fact that Nate was more conditioned. So I would say, yes, I could have seen them giving him a higher placing, but I also don't fault them at all for giving him lower if they were prioritizing a little bit more of the size, then yeah, of course. So overall, great showing from Nate. Looking forward to what he can do in the future. And we will definitely keep you updated on that. Now let us move on to Alphonso. Alphonso is 18 years old. I can never remember. He's either 18 or 19. I think he might be 19 now. But Fonz documents like everything. So if you want to go take a look at a person who really shows you the journey, go follow Fonz, because I've never seen a person do so many physique updates in my life. Like, he's always showing stuff, and that's why his social media has been growing so rapidly, and he's got a very bright future ahead of him. He was able to turn this into a full-time profession for him as an 18-year-old, which is crazy, right? If you want to see somebody who is super, super dedicated to whatever it is they throw themselves into, Fonz is that guy. Fonz is more disciplined than me. I'll be totally honest there. I like, it's inspiring to me, even as a coach, seeing his level of dedication. But obviously you can see, looks phenomenal, right? 18 years old, bringing this level is not something you see every day. If you take a look at things like his midsection, just completely dug out, his obliques, like good separation, abs deep, all of it, real good. Showing some lines in the quad muscles as well. And this is where things get a little bit tougher, right? Because I'm gonna say some things here and people might find it interesting, but we could have been even tighter, right? Like, we could have been even more conditioned. And I know you can say that in a lot of cases, but I would say for Fonz, part of the reason why we could have been even better if we'd prepared, or not even prepared, slightly better, but had a little bit better of a starting point, is because it is just hard to prep a physique all the way from this down to stage leanness. And when I say stage leanness, I don't, like, obviously he got stage lean. I mean, like, the dug out, like, 5%-ish body fat levels, which also, he is young, so pushing to that level could be tough. But I still think a guy like him could do it. Right, I think Fonz has the dedication and the mindset to be able to push to those levels. Don't necessarily want him to do it on his first go around, but if he had tried to do that coming from here, like, he was in the 190s when we started prep, and he ended off at 155, right? So 155 from the 190s. I think he even got close to 200 at one point. I think it was like 197, 198, and that was before we started. Like, really dialing in diet and everything. So no, I didn't purposely try to get him to be in the high 190s, but that's a very, very hard, long cut. Now, if he'd done it in stages, obviously it's a little bit different, but he pretty much went from that all the way down. I cannot complain with how things went. So he ended up taking 5 first places, because you have different categories when it comes to bodybuilding. I can use this as an opportunity to teach you guys a little bit about how bodybuilding works. So bodybuilding can have a bunch of categories, not just men's physique, classic, and open. It can also have novice, which is somebody who's never won a show before. It can have true novice, which is the first ever show you've done. Sometimes they call that debut as well. And then it has open, right? And open is where the people go who have won previously in shows, or I think it might be top 2 in previous shows. So he was able to compete as a first-time competitor. He was able to compete as a novice competitor, an open competitor, and a teen competitor, right? So he has, like, all these different categories he can go into, and that's how you can come out with 5 first places despite there being only 2 divisions. In the overall for men's physique, he ended up coming second. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure he ended up coming second in the overall for men's physique. And in the overall for classic physique, he ended up coming third, right? So that's the older competitors, people who have competed in previous shows. You get more experience in those areas. So, but he was by far the youngest, and he did phenomenal. I cannot say enough good things about this for a first show. Is nuts. If you ever competed before, or seen other people compete before, obviously the people who do the best tend to get pushed to the top of your social media. This is an anomaly to do this well at 19 years old. So fantastic job on his part, but honestly, fantastic on both Nate and Nate and him. I cannot be happier with how both of them did. All right, that's just a phenomenal showing. Both of them great athletes, great guys too. Like if you like, there's a lot of people. I know people will talk about the social media fitness influencer, people being fake, and not the types of people that you would wanna be around because they're just self-absorbed, and these guys are not that. Fonz and Nate are two of the best young men that I know. So if you're not already following them, definitely go give them a follow. And if you guys want me to continue to do these and show you guys more highlights, maybe even some low. No, I try not to low light my clients if possible. But no, it's fun watching the journey overall. Obviously, this is the end of the journey, right? So it can be a lot of times people will just forget that there's the other 12 months, 24 months, 36 months leading into the next show because everybody's so focused on the stage. It's a long journey, right? Fonz has been lifting for a few years now. Nate's been lifting for I think 5 or 6 years now, right? Like these are always the tail end of journeys, and Fonz is just starting, Nate's just starting. Like they're still young in terms of competing, even though they've been lifting for years. So bodybuilding is a long-term game, guys. If you want to get involved with it, if you're not a genetic phenom, don't expect to have a showing like this at 19 years old. It's not going to happen for the majority of you unless you are pretty genetically gifted. It wouldn't have happened for me if I tried to compete at that age. Look to some people for some inspiration, and I hope you enjoyed hearing their stories or taking a look at some of their stage stuff. And we will get you updated with Paul, who is going for his pro card. That's an interesting situation. We have a very short amount of time to actually make that happen. He is, well, I'll leave it for the next video. As always, love you guys. Appreciate you guys. TNF out.